like this, man. He's like a butterfly flapping his wings deep down in the forest, man. It's gonna cause a tree fall like 5,000 miles away, man. There ain't nobody seeing nobody. Man, see, like, you don't even know, man. It's like you're born into this world, man. And you got like that, man. That's the wind, man. Or like the dang old candle, man. It don't matter, man. These old things.
All right, William from Incel Riot Studios. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I mean, I realize dating your podcast in the first 20 seconds is poor form. But if you're wondering, listener, this is the day that the chat feature on X got pushed out, which means that as someone whose job it is to basically coordinate things via DMs on Twitter, today's been a disaster for me. Nothing has gone according to plan, but nonetheless, are here. So anyway, man, obviously this was set up by our mutual friends at Antelope Hill. But who are you and what do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? My name is William Dalabout. Just dox myself. And I make board games. I've been making board games for I guess 7-8 years now, professionally. And before that, I was a commercial illustrator. I guess we'll get into that story at some point. That it all came to a screeching halt in 2016 when I backed the wrong candidate for president.
And this is sort of an interesting thing. I'm not really a board games guy, but I am in areas that are kissing cousins, right? Like I sort of grew up as a war gamer, playing a lot of tabletop RPGs, and there's a lot of crossover, right? You sort of see the same trends happening. And those spaces got just absolutely overrun with like horrible progressive types sort of at the same time, or slightly earlier even than we saw with, gaming, which obviously Gamergate is how a lot of people ended up, getting pushed out of mainstream politics.
I think they were always there. I think the election brought them out.
Is what 100%. It brought it out. And, I was a teenager at the time, and I had always been interested in kind of nerdy, whatever that means, activities. And obviously, to me, in my mind, if there were politics, it was sort of like 90s liberal politics, like generally be nice to people. Authority is generally negative, but it was all pretty background stuff, right? I mean, that's a very general thing to say, but
I guess if you were in high school during the 90s, I suppose that's true. I'm
talking about in the mid 2000s. Like that was the sort of politics that you saw. Like I'm thinking about like sort of before 5th edition D&D, for rough context.
Okay. I lost track of D&D after 2nd edition. I just completely ignored it.
You didn't miss much.
All I have to say about that is THACO is cancer, and roll to hit tables are the way to go. It's the way God intended the game to be played.
So fair enough, man. So obviously you started out on your own, almost 10 years ago now. Do you want to just briefly summarize your cancellation? We don't need to get into the details, but
the cancellation, sure.
Yeah.
I guess you might not remember in 2012 when you had when elections happened. So me working as a commercial illustrator, right? Like a freelance, I had representation, but they only shot me like a project like 3 or 4 times a year, if that. So I'm like completely on my own, like on Behance and Dribble and on social media, just posting things like to get the attention of people. And one a good way to do that back then is like if a really popular franchise came out, like Breaking Bad comes out, you do some Breaking Bad fan art, and people will spread it around because it's a franchise they like. And during an election, like in the 2012, you had like that was a way to do that. You could be like, I'm an Obama guy or I'm a McCain guy, and or I'm a Ron Paul guy, and you do like fan art of your guy, and people who also like your guy like spread your guy around. It's a good way to get attention. It's a good way to get work, and so that's what I did. I picked Trump as my guy, like really way early in the election, back when there were like 17 candidates for Republican, and it was I was working on it during the that first Fox debate with Megyn Kelly, like the Rosie O'Donnell, that one, and the mood as hours after I posted it. So I posted, I went to bed, and I went and so I made fan art like this banner of Trump, but I still have it on my website and stuff. But then I go to bed, and then I wake up, and the narrative has shifted from clown candidate to Hitler incarnate. And everything.
Well, and I remember that was sort of a funny like transfer, I guess you were talking about, right? The pivot from Donald Trump is inherently comedic to he is Orange Hitler. Because again, like I was in like I said, late high school at the time. And so, when you're like 17, you're like, this guy's hilarious. He is my favorite presidential candidate ever because he, makes fun of people on the internet and says rude things, right? Which is kind of core interests at that stage in life. And, at first it was sort of this like attitude of like, oh, boys will be boys, like whatever, no one cares. But then it shifted into, you don't know what you're saying. You're promoting something dangerous. And it became even more fun, right? Obviously there's no career tied to it, but I remember exactly that moment you're talking about.
In a sense, it becomes fun. Yeah. Oh man, it freaks me out how people like schools of sardines in the water. Just the media shifts course, and they all shift course, and they don't realize that they've shifted course, and they say, well, I was always against. You're like, you meet like a Democrat. Well, I always hated Trump. I always knew he was a racist. Always, all the way back in the 80s when he was making appearances on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or whatever. Like, no, you didn't. Everybody loved him, even you.
Well, it's like this is much later in time, but do you remember when they made a big deal, Disney did, about editing him out of Home Alone 2? Like he was some sort of like evil figure.
And I just like roll my eyes and keep scrolling because there was so much of that.
Well, it's weird. And the only reason I remembered this is because like that's back page news even when it happened. But last holiday season, I was watching that movie with some family members, and it got to the part where Kevin walks down the hall and he's supposed to Donald Trump is supposed to point him in the right direction, and they all looked at me like a crazy person. I was like, where did the Donald Trump scene go? Because admittedly, that does sound like a crazy thing. There was just a scene.
Oh, did they all get Mandela? They don't remember it was ever there?
100%. And so I was easily justified. But to that point where it's like, you really can just rewrite history through like selective media application. And when you're the one guy, you're like there's no way I'm crazy. Like I remember this happening. Even something as inconsequential as that.
Really terrify me. But that is one of them. Like it's be like living with pod people. Like how did they erase that part of your brain? How does that work? Why am I the only human?
Yeah. Well, man. So obviously you got pushed out as a commercial illustrator. I mean, look, like that is a crowd with a certain culture. Perhaps I'll leave it at that. So where do you go next?
Yeah, you don't go anywhere. It's like, well. Let's see. Well, my options are starve to death. That's one. Put a pin in that. The other one is
did you starve to death?
I haven't starved to death yet. We are operating on much less money than we used to. But then I thought, well, let's see if I can find a new audience, which has been an ongoing. I don't want to say struggle. It's been very interesting.
Yeah. So obviously there's at least some crossover with doing, board games. If you can do the art yourself, obviously that's a big part of it, especially in the era of, and you probably know more about this than I do, but the era of, sort of bespoke hobbyist board gaming, right? Where there's an audience for well-illustrated, expensive board games.
Right. Well, there's that. Okay. But yeah. what am I saying? Well, as a an illustrator, I've worked with a lot of I had worked with a lot of companies, and like a lot of stuff got printed. I had relationships with a lot of factories who made things. You do a show, a convention, right? We need our branded swag in this location. We need like all of the specifications, blah 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 blah. You take it to the printers, you and all about the how to pick the colors and and how to get it all. So okay, I have this skill set. Maybe I can just apply it to something. And I also like board games. I also like strategy games. So so that works out well. I guess I was referring to I guess I'm very liberal brained, if that makes any sense. I'm a liberal brained person with conservative values among conservatives. And I don't know, I'm just constantly aware of like how I don't connect with people and how things don't land and how people don't care about the same things that I care about. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And like, I even say that as someone who has right-wing politics, but is not particularly conservative for whatever that term means. And I think there is an important difference there. You even see this with like, honestly, I think that in many ways, current millennial culture is actually quite conservative in the sense that they are very interested in maintaining a certain type of status quo, like the values handed down to them by wider society. They want to preserve those. It's just they grew up in, broadly speaking, a very left-wing culture. So I think there's important distinction to be made there.
There is a pseudomorphosis at work. Yes, they're the millennials are becoming what they are. If that makes
certainly.
sense.
And so, but so when you're speaking about that sort of like, I guess, liberal attitude, right? How does that affect like your work, I guess?
Well, it's it seems to me, just to start out, that the political divide right now has less to do with politics and more to do with personality.
Certainly.
Personality types. Like if you are extremely left-brained, you're probably a Republican now. I don't think it would have been that way 25 years ago. And if you're extremely right-brained, like a creative type, you are very susceptible to imagery and emotion and propaganda, and you will be on the left currently. Right brain on the left brain on the right. So when I approach a project, like I'm really interested in like the aesthetics of the thing, right? And I find that my audience really isn't. Like they don't care, even if they notice.
Well, that's always a tough thing. And I noticed this as well. Someone who's maybe not a creative themselves, but has surrounded myself with creatives, is that it's always tough when it's like the thing that you care about, the thing that you want to be perfect, has very little determinate value on what you actually need the project to do. But it's like, I can't let it go.
Exactly.
Like it has to be perfect, even in a way that doesn't matter.
Well, in the back of my mind, I tell myself that they actually do perceive it, even if it doesn't register, if that makes sense. Like
100%. And actually, this is a horrible podcasting form. William, what's the game that you've most recently made? Right, because this is what we are supposed to be talking about. 12 minutes into a conversation we haven't mentioned.
Currently, we are promoting Civil War II, which is my most recent release. It is just about to cross 12,000 out of a goal of 17,076, which I thought would be immersive, very immersive. It's a completely arbitrary number.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's what platforms were you using to promote that? Because I understand that there are some platforms which are friendlier than others.
Well, I decided to do it on Kickstarter, which may have been a mistake. I think they're very hostile to us. I got it in my mind that this time I would do something that would be appealing to a broader cross section of people, and that the curmudgeons at the pearl clutches at Kickstarter would give me a fairer shake this time. I think that might have been a mistake. But,
we'll see. I mean, look, the Kickstarter's still up. So
it's true. It's still up.
Let's talk about the business model of Kickstarter, if you will, because I think it's actually an interesting thing. Because
look, like I know.
Well, and here's the angle I want to take, and I think this is interesting. I think there's a much heightened skepticism around crowdfunding than there was 10 years ago because of kind of no multiple disasters, right? So
Yeah.
like, how do you do it, right? Like, how do you run a Kickstarter in a way that actually like people can feel like they're not wasting their money or they're going to get scammed?
Well, I have built up a base over time. I have the mailing list. It's got about 3,000 people on it, former and current customers. Most of it comes from that. I guess I've done right by them enough times that they want more. I get a lot of repeat buyers, not as many new ones as I would hope, but as for reasons that you say, yes, the Kickstarter model is throw up some slop, take the money, and move to Costa Rica.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, it's a goal, right? So that's a good answer. And honestly, I think that that's sort of and you see this in any sort of like online environment. Like I remember forum culture back when that still existed. Forums would have like kind of yes and no. It's been eaten by social media. So if you go to your favorite
a lot
forums,
of it has,
like if you go to your favorite forums, there's just no volume anymore. A lot of them unfortunately have been fully killed off. Like they don't pay for hosting anymore, but there's just, it's still alive, but not like it used to be. But I think of, like the rep system that used to exist, right?
The successor to the successor of the forum that I ran and used to frequent is QE Farms, and they're fine. But by and large, I believe you're correct. Yes.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. I had Josh Moon on not too long ago.
Right on. Yeah, very few of them actually remember me. Some of the posters might. It's all overrun by millennials now. Millennials shakes fist.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with Kiwi Farms, it's sort of its own thing now. Like whereas the model for forums, and I was around for kind of the tail end of it, but as someone who had specific interest, it was a great way to collate information. But the reason I brought it up is not just to reminisce about when the internet was more fun, but to say there was, either in an informal or formalized rep system, like you'd see like your post count, how people rated you. You could sort of sort information. And I've talked to other, artists who fund their work via crowdfunding. I think of, Matt Kotz, who's, 500 pages into a graphic novel series now in a decade.
Ooh.
And yeah, stuff's great, like genuinely great. I'm sure you would like it. It's we talk about it later, but it's one of the things he spoke about, which is that exact thing of, having people who have bought your products before, having a track record of saying, here's what I do. I deliver on time. I'm not going to scam you.
Right.
Like that is in a way like building up a customer base. And that's a very valuable tool for creative, right?
Yeah. Hey, being honest, actually, it's a good way to live your life. Turns out.
Yeah. Controversial opinion. Don't lie.
Controversial opinion. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And now with just to shout them out. Is that what you say it in hip hop culture? Antelope Hill. They're great. They're great. Straight shooters.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. I was actually talking to the founder of Antelope Hill actually less than a week ago. And I'm not going to tell tales out of school, obviously, but that was one of the things that he spoke about that I thought was really exciting, is that he's now at a point where he spends a significant amount of time telling people no, which, like, okay, you could look at that and say, well, that's bad for those individual people, but it's exciting from the perspective of, well, now there is a large amount of, well, there's obviously a market to sustain it, but on a secondary level, now there is a large group of people who maybe aspirationally want to create for that audience. And, you look back at, a previous model. I was talking to an author earlier today where your one choice for getting your work out was, the two big companies in whatever your industry was.
Right.
You're not beholden to that anymore. And it means you can do interesting and exciting things, right?
Yes, it does. Some of my exciting ideas are still too radical for Antelope Hill. I'm going to work on them.
All right. We'll see. So what are your other games, right? And obviously we don't need to go into detail, but like you speak about building up some sort of rapport. So like, how do you do that? How do you get your initial audience and build from there?
First one, my first campaign was in 2017, I think that's right. Yeah, I think 2017. Oh, maybe later. Maybe it's 20. I don't remember. It's been, but it was Virtue Signal the game, which was a game that I had been working on the forum that Kiwi Farms is the successor to. And I had been working on for a long time, which is it simulates the infighting in liberal groups. If from the outside it may not be apparent, but inside those groups they are buckets of cannibal maggots, just devouring each other and trying to climb to the top. It's a very vicious environment. Well, maybe you do. Maybe it is apparent.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be largely, completely, and totally miserable, right? I mean, I
completely miserable all of the time, terrified. If you step one toe out of line, the rest of them will turn on you in a minute. People you thought you were your friends, and to top that off, the narrative is constantly shifting, and you have to pay extremely close attention.
This is a funny story. I've told this. I don't know if I've told it on air before. This is 100% true. It sounds like made up bullshit. I've been doxxed for a long time.
Okay.
And literally the week or two after I was doxxed, I was hanging out with some friends who were, the plans had already been made. They sort of disassociated after the politics changed, but it was sort of this awkward, like everyone knows, but no one really wants to have the conversation sort of thing. Right. And we're sitting around playing board games. And of course, the game Secret Hitler is there. And I'm like, okay, come on.
I have that. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my shelf.
Literally, I've never played this game in my life before, William. The first hand, there's this kind of uncomfortable, cloud in the air. I'm there with some friends who were aware of what I am and didn't care, who were kind of on my side. And the hands go out at the beginning. And of course, it's werewolf, right? Or mafia. There's one guy who's him. Obviously, there are differences to it. But for people who don't know, you're looking for Secret Hitler.
Right.
And literally the first round, I'm Secret Hitler. And I'm like, oh no. This has just happened. It's happened twice, right? First is tragedy, then is farce, right? I am the literal Nazi in their midst.
No.
Which was just like incredibly on the nose. But I think that is sort of an interesting counterpoint, right? Of like their game is rooting out the Nazi. Like that's the haha funny edgy party joke or party game rather.
Yes.
And I think that sort of indicates an interesting bit of psychology there.
And if there is no Nazi, you must create a Nazi from one of your
own. Someone's got to be one.
Crucify him. Yes. Somebody has to be crucified all the time. And if nobody is apparent, right? If there's nobody, you have to find somebody, it's got to be somebody. You got to root them out for some reason, and you got to crucify that person. It's got to happen on a regular basis. Right. So the game simulates that. And I had no experience doing a Kickstarter. I had no experience I had no advertising or marketing set up. I just threw it up on Kickstarter. And by the third day, we were trending number 7 across the entire site.
I mean, that's not bad for a first attempt, right?
It's pretty good for a first attempt. Like it stresses me out, like things like that. So I wasn't paying attention, but I had like a friend / partner. He was like, hey, like we're good. We're number 7. Like, oh, in BAMES? No, across the whole site. Wow. And people start calling me up, and I got noticed by the feds and a whole bunch of stuff. And then Kickstarter shadow banned me hard. As soon as I hit funding, I set the goal at $40,000. Extremely ambitious for a board game, period. Let alone a first time. And oh wait, no. I set it at 25,000, and 40,000 is what we ended up making. So I hit funding like in the first week or something like that, and then they brought the hammer down, and we were last. We were last on the entire site, like after people with no pledges, the dead last.
Which is just crazy. I mean, again, it's like the very aggressive response from tech. It's sort of moderated slightly, but it bears repeating, right?
Very passive aggressive.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, look, just like send a corporate hit team and paint my brains all over the wall. At least then it's like direct, instead of this like corporate HR approved way of making me go away. But in all seriousness, someone who's, played board games quite often, but wouldn't really consider myself a board gamer. What goes into the actual process of designing a game from the ground up?
Ooh, good question. Nobody's actually never asked me that. Lots of revisions. I guess you start with that's a good question. I was not ready to answer that question. It's finding the game in real life, if that makes sense, and identifying games that are interesting. Right? Games with that are layers that appear to be self-contradictory, if that makes sense.
So do you start with sort of like an initial, I guess you would say, loop, or like an initial like concept and iterate from there? Or are you looking for a more complicated idea? Again, saying this is someone who's never designed a board game.
I started out with, okay, how do we simulate this? So it went through, well, I'll do Virtue Signal because I think that went through the most revisions. It's a contest to develop like your liberal virtue. It's a race. Okay, we'll start it out as a race. So I thought, okay, we can start out like Millborns. Are you familiar with? It's an auto racing game where you just like put down miles. You count up miles, right? And then other people can put hazards on you, can inhibit you by putting on a hazard. You clear the hazard, then you keep putting down miles. It's an extremely simple game, not terribly fun, very luck based. So I had that for a while. It was just like a liberal count of liberal points. And I was like, this could be better. So instead of one counter, we're going to make 4 counters. We're going to divide it up into suits. Red, yellow, green, and blue, and they will represent one will be feminism, one will be LGBT stuff, another one will be economics, and the other one will be politics. So politics is blue, virtue within the Democratic Party. Economics is red. How Marxist are you? And like LGBT stuff, and then the feminist stuff. And okay, then rather than in generic points, maybe these points can represent something within that thing. So now instead of having like generic numbers, all the cards are going to be unique. It's set a very high bar. All the cards are going to be unique, and they're going to be all individually illustrated. Okay, so all right, so I am an influencer now, and my points are people. Okay, and they're just going to go in a stack. I was like, okay, maybe there's something better than going in a stack. Maybe I could do it like dominoes, or people accuse me of like ripping off Illuminati. I didn't actually. It really did start out as a Millborns game. What if like I put my card down on the table, and then like these different people, like all the points used to be points, now they represent people. They're your followers, and they influence other people, right? So supposing I'm the communist influencer, right? There are a couple of them. I forget his name, but and I have like mostly like red valences on my cards. Like I'll attract all the communist guys, but those guys may have friends who may have Democrat sympathies, and they may have friends who are Democrats. So I can get those guys, and then I can start adding. Right. So you start with like a red card, and then you add some red followers, which has some blue valences on the end. That you can attach blue cards to those, and branch off from there. So now it becomes strategic instead of just being a running count. And then the hazards, which used to be against the character personally. Again, this is just like Millborns, where you have a flat tire, and then the remedy is to get a spare tire. So in Virtue Signal, you will have the microaggression. Right, this is the competition part. You accuse somebody of a microaggression. You slap the microaggression card on them or on their on one of their followers, and this hinders your liberal virtue. And the only way to get out of that is with a virtue signal, right? Some expression of liberal piety that makes no sense and doesn't actually help anybody, but makes you look like a really good person. Okay, and now these are alignment coded. So if you're accused of like being bad at Marxism, you have to do something like extremely Marxist to remove that thing. And now you can grow in that direction again, and that's how it worked out. And then maybe there's one more thing. So the shifting narrative, you got to be able to simulate the shifting narrative too. So now there are add the plot cards, right, which get played in the middle, and they alter the game state for everybody. So sometimes the competition is mostly cooperative, like there's some game states where there is not very hostile. You accuse people, it doesn't really damage you very much. Then there's the game state called Race to the Bottom, which is like a nuclear cloud with the angry face. And during Race to the Bottom, people get extremely vicious, and when they play the microaggressions against you, it actually damages you. Actually lose followers. So things like that. And there are male characters and female characters, and like certain game states only the boys can play, certain game states only the girls can play, and boys have to sit and listen, right? Like that. So that was the final state of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting thing. The psychology that goes along with games. I can think of, I haven't played video games in a very long time, at least seriously. But one of the last games I played a lot on the couch, right? Couch co-op, or I guess couch multiplayer, was actually Worms. It's sort of like Tank Commander, right? Heavily evolved.
I know Worms.
Yeah, ton of fun. And the whole reason the game was fun is not the actual game, but it's the meta game of psychology, right? Of like the wheeling and dealing of like, wait, I've only got one worm left. Don't kick me off because I'll screw you next round. Like, how about we go together against the guy who's in first place? That sort of stuff.
Okay.
And that was entirely exogenous, right? It's not really built into the game itself.
Yes.
But that's what I think is interesting about those systems is you're basically for a fun end, sort of manipulating your players into acting differently.
Yeah. Oh, and should I do the okay, and then the one that after that, the sequel to Virtue Signal the game was Virtue Signal Deplorables, which is also on my shelf. I'm looking at it right now. People kept asking me, like, "Hey, why can you make fun of the left wingers? Why don't you make fun of the right wingers?" Like, that might be interesting. But I'm not gonna. They wanted me to just like trash them, right? So I thought, how can I do this in like an interesting way? So I basically made like an entire separate mini game of being a groiper. Where you could, yeah. And they're all frogs. They're all frogs. This was 4 or 5 years ago. They're all frogs, and there's one groiper player. Like it has to be proportionate, right? You have to have 2 libtards to every groiper, otherwise it doesn't work. And his job is to just he's going to infiltrate. So you have like these chains running off your character card, right? That represent your points. He's going to infiltrate those chains. Right. And he's got alignments too. And he's going to go in there and infiltrate. And by that, he's going to build up the toxicity level in your chain. Right. And when it hits a certain level, he can do some epic trollage that earns him points. Every one of his people that you kill, of your people that he kills, quote unquote, that he triggers, becomes a trophy for him. Right. And he wins by acquiring trophies from by trolling people.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I'm curious. I just don't know anything about this model, right? So when you're kickstarting something, right? Obviously, you need money to live. You can illustrate. You can do it yourself. But like, what are the economics of this, right? Like, how much do you have to? And I'm not trying to get you to divulge something, but like, how much does it cost to make a video, to make a board game?
A lot. Well, the setup and the cost in printing is mostly the labor, right? The paper and the ink cost virtually nothing. So you'll get priced for the labor. So if depending on the price will scale radically depending on like how much of there is, right? So if you make one, the unit price is going to be astronomical. Like if you make a sample. If I make a sample, like one board game will cost me $300. Okay, but if the larger the print run, it goes down a lot. So if you make 500, or if I make say 250, the unit price will be about $15. If I make If I make 500, it goes down to like 10. If I make thousands, like in the case of my first run of Virtue Signal, then I think the unit price was $2, and then sold it for $28. And since it's just me, I'm doing all the writing and the illustrating, then all of that is profit, except for 30%, which I gave back when I had promoters. I would give that to them. I promoted with people, they all got canceled.
Fair. I mean, that's sort of an interesting thing in of itself, right? Is sort of the death of the middleman in certain forms of media. You know, like you've seen the several times, and I say this as a podcaster and technically as a YouTuber. My stuff ends up on YouTube, even if I don't spend a lot of time there. The business model, maybe sort of 15 years ago, right, is you wanted to get on a network. Right? And a network worked a lot like a record label. They would do a bunch of stuff for you. But what's interesting is, sorry, what's that?
I was going to say a few winners, a whole lot of losers in that model.
Exactly. And people got burnt. They wasted their lives. They got screwed. And we sort of saw several versions of this. Like the guys who've been around for long enough on the site will remember, Machinima was a big one early on. They were infamous for that. And, there were dozens of others, right? The guys who made Red versus Blue turned into that before it exploded.
Oh,
and
right. Yeah.
What's interesting is it seems as if that model is sort of going away. Now, obviously, if you're famous enough, you need a manager, right? Just to tell people no. William, I think neither you or I is in danger of ending up in that position anytime soon.
Not soon, no.
It'd be nice if we were, but
Yeah.
So, but point is, you can sort of get all of both the benefits and the consequences of getting rid of like a middleman, right? Like on one hand, it kind of sucks because everything is your problem. Like you have to do everything, but also you get to do everything. I know it's sort of a blessing and a curse there.
True. My problem is that as an artist, my solution to most problems is to draw more, which really isn't the solution to most problems. You kind of want a second guy just to have like a guy who doesn't think like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's very true. And maybe this is a dangerous question to ask, but William, are you worried at all about like generative AI as regards to your work?
My work? Oh, dude, I just reposted this thing. That thing that the Elon's Musk, the cartoon, that was terrifyingly good, man. I had a mini freak out about that 2 days ago.
I mean, the Will Stansel stuff, like I didn't think it's the funniest thing in the world, but it's within spitting distance of like lower end Cartoon Network shows.
It's good. And I did kind of a deep dive on it on, I guess, Wednesday to figure out if like maybe I could use AI to like, on my own stuff. Turns out not really. So I fed a whole bunch of artwork into Grok, a whole bunch of my artwork. I was like, okay, make it like this. Make it like this. And it couldn't do it. Right. And I kept asking it questions and probing. And it turns out what happens is when you upload artwork to Grok or an AI, it will analyze the image. It will describe the image in words, or I guess on their side is data. And then it will go out on the internet and find other things that it thinks meets that criteria. Right. So it's not actually basing it on my stuff or your stuff. So if you have a unique illustration style, AI can't hurt you and it can't help you. If you have an illustration style that is very, I don't want to say generic, but
generic, I'll say it.
Okay, generic. Like if you want to do Studio Ghibli or like an Adult Swim style, like what Will Stansel is, that art style is a very Adult Swim cartoon kind of a thing. Then yeah, it can find lots of references and can cobble together something on that. So,
well, and also I feel like from the outside looking in, it's even in like shit posting, right? Which is the most I've used it for. It's like, okay, for a certain type of high effort shit posting, it's kind of taken it away. But like AI memes are not as interesting or as popular as like the old fashioned type.
No, they're not.
You see them,
But we
they're
can
just
talk about that.
obviously trash, you know? And that may change, but like to me, it's like, yeah, sure, it will get rid of a lot of the like joyless grunt work, like in the same way that like low level graphic designers have been hit hard by AI because like a handyman business just wants something that looks okay. They don't care about something looking, perfect. But
Right.
for someone who has a specialty product like you, it's sort of a different, it doesn't, I don't see it filling that niche, at least as of yet.
It probably can't. I really tried hard to get it to get it to match my style. Cannot do it. It can't do it. But it's interesting you mentioned that because it's true. Like, millennials have a very interesting aesthetic. It's very interesting to me, and I think about it a lot. And it's kind of amazing to me that nobody's really analyzing that. You bring up the memes, like, go ahead.
No, I think that's actually an interesting point. I've just spent an extended weekend in Portland, and Portland is sort of like a Ren Fair for millennials. It is 2010 forever there.
I'm kind of sort of from there, and I would say it's 1997 forever there. But
yeah, fair enough. You could say that. But I mean, that is the line from Portlandia, right? The dream of the '90s is alive in Portland.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I graduated Portland State.
Oh, yeah. Don't go back is my one piece of advice.
Okay.
No, in all seriousness, Portland's actually a very nice town. It's just fun to make fun of.
Yeah.
But point is that I think that aesthetic vision you're talking about is very identifiable.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that. You mentioned that millennials do not like the polish, right? Because AI, if you're an AI engineer, your goal is to make things look polished and cinematic. And I think millennials are very mistrustful of that, of anything that looks like that, and they will intentionally destroy it. Right, make the editing choppy. Throw on some deep fried like VCR lines or grain to it. Right, distort the music. Right, distort and slow down the visuals, and this makes it palatable for millennials. Just kind of wreck it, if that makes sense. Wreck that polish.
Yeah, well, 100%. And that is like the aesthetics of authenticity, right? Like I think really this is the explosion of podcasting. And obviously there exists at the very top of it, the kind of like ultra polished, like New York Times podcasting with, a million producers. I question how genuinely popular that is if it weren't boosted. But like even look at, podcasts in the top 10. Like, yeah, sure, Rogan has a producer, but the form of it is very, lo-fi, right? It's two guys sitting around just talking.
It is.
And so there's exactly. There's a level of authenticity to that you can't get with kind of AI polish.
Right. Yeah, true. And also like the memes that are most popular that everybody uses, right? Like just going back to like we had very polished, like very professionally drawn memes back in the 2000s, but people prefer the ones that look like they're made in MS Paint with a mouse. You know what I mean?
Look, as someone who has created multiple famous Wojaks, which is the dumbest thing to ever say.
Yeah. Should we compare?
I drew the there's a David French Wojak that I drew. There's a Rod Dreher one. There's multiple ones that have sort of escaped containment. And literally all of those I drew with one line weight on my laptop touchpad in Microsoft Paint. And it looks funnier that way.
It does. It looks funny. It looks more authentic. It looks like it's made by a person.
Yeah. To make fun of some guy with a, $250,000 a year job. And, somehow it makes me feel better that I can make fun of him on Twitter. But
can I brag for a minute, my memes?
Of course.
You're not going to believe it. You're going to laugh at me. Roof Koreans. I invented that.
Fair enough. I believe it. I've actually had that moment with Bog Beef, the good old boys, a veteran poster, where I quoted a meme he made to him. Because it's just one of those great, like, throwaways, right? And they sort of enter the common lexicon. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. But William, unfortunately, I'm going to have to step out a little earlier than normal. I have real world obligations. And
Okay,
this has really been an interesting conversation. I'll make sure to leave the links to your Kickstarter down in the link below.
I mentioned Roof Koreans and you got into the podcast. No.
But I'm sorry, man. I do have to step out early, unfortunately. But where else can people find you? Obviously, other than
on X, just look for well, it's Dale About William, my name on X now because I lost so many accounts. This is my 9th account. Incelriot.com and also on the Antelope Hill website in the board game section. That's all me.
Well, sure thing. I will make sure to link to that. Again, William, sorry I had to let you go early. Unfortunately, I have a real life, as gay as that sounds. But it was great talking to you, man. Okay. And be sure to check out his work.
All right.